Hello. I have been a little bit sick, so that's why my voice sounds like this. You are welcome. My voice is kind of coming back, and I am behind on my bucket list movies, so as Freddie Mercury would say, get on your bikes and ride. No, the show must go on. Everything he says is just great anyway. So this time I will be talking to you about the movies I saw in May. There are some classics, some really great ones, so let's get started. So the first movie I saw in May was A Streetcar Named Desire. The movie is an adaptation from the play by Tennessee Williams. So the story is about this woman who goes to see her sister and her new husband. She has recently left her job teaching. She has lost the house that they had since they were kids, apparently all because of her nerves. So she's going to spend some time with her sister, trying to get her feet on the ground. Vivien Leigh's performance was just amazing. She just has this sort of Southern Belle darling thing going on, and it's great because you are annoyed by her, but at the same time you understand her pain. And she's a very incredible character. She's very complex. There's lots of layers there to sort of peel back, and you begin to see the hurt and the trouble that she has been experiencing. And then there's Marlon Brando, and I mean, sweet baby Jesus. What can you say about Marlon Brando in this movie? He's just, let's start just by looks. Probably the most gorgeous version of Marlon Brando you'll ever see, with his, glistening skin and skin-tight shirts and just like that sort of swagger and angry energy he had. He's so good in it, so good, and I think this was the role that kind of rocketed his career. Stanley Kowalski is just such an iconic character. He's, like I said, very angry and volatile, and he kind of wants to protect what's his, and he wants to make sure he can get ahead in the world and not have people make a fool out of him. I think that's very important to him. But there's also like a tenderness deep down in his character that you want to root for. You're never sure where you stand with him, but I'm not going to tell you how it ends because you have to find out for yourself. The dialogue is amazing. It's just heavy with energy and meaning, and absolutely loved it. I complained last time about black and white movies and how I do like them, but some are not great. This one is really great. I highly recommend it. I saw it on Amazon Prime. You have to rent it, but it's definitely worth it. The second movie I saw is Ghostbusters, because the new one is coming up this week actually, and I thought it would be nice to have a refresher. I saw this movie when I was a little kid, so I remember little bits and pieces, but I wanted to see the whole thing again as an adult. The truth be told, I think it's one of those movies that it's better left remembered. When you see it again, it's super cheesy. It's just very 80s, funny, weird. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's one of those movies I think that you remember it better than if you were to watch it again. It doesn't live up to what you remember. The cast is absolutely great. I think Bill Murray carries the sort of blunt humor all the way. It's what we know of him, it's what we can expect of him. He's hilarious throughout the whole thing. But then you have Dan Aykroyd's characters like genuineness. He's just very smart and very dedicated to what he does. And then you have Egon's nerdiness and sort of dry humor. I think Egon was my favorite. And then there's the addition of Setmore halfway through the movie. It's a great combination of characters. I absolutely love them together. It's really light and funny. I love Sigourney Weaver in it as well. The two female characters were really great. I had fun watching it. I don't think it's one of those movies that you watch again and again, but every now and then, in a few years, you pop it out, you watch it, and you just feel good and remember the good old days, I guess. The next movie I saw was my first Hitchcock movie, and that is The Birds. I'm aware that this might not have been the best first movie to watch from Hitchcock, but I thought I would give it a try. I have very vivid tales in my head that my father used to tell me about this movie because he watched it when he was a kid, and he was really scared afterwards because it's pretty freaking scary. This one took a little bit to get into because I'm pretty sure everybody knows what The Birds is about, so I'm expecting it to just go ahead and show me what it has to show, but it takes so much introduction. This very rich lady, the daughter of the owner of some big newspaper in New York, bumps into this other very wealthy, charming guy. She is kind of taken by him. So in the classic way of the days before social media, she just stalks him and goes to his apartment and brings him birds. And when he's not there, because he's away for the weekend in some beach town, she goes to the beach town to go see him and just pretend she's bumping into him. I mean, Women, am I right? Anyway, everything takes place in this town, and there's so much buildup in a relationship that eventually it doesn't matter because birds are gonna go crazy and kill people. Well, the story is not my favorite. It's impossible not to notice Hitchcock's great work. There's so many things that you can admire about this movie. It's impossible to deny his talents as a director and as the master of suspense. When things start progressing and someone gets, bitten by a bird and then another thing happens and the birds are getting sick, you kind of do feel the tension, and that's really well done. Another thing that really helps for this movie to be spooky is the lack of music. There's no music in this movie, and so when everything is silent and people are moving around a house waiting to discover something creepy, it just accentuates that. And then when you finally have sound, it's like a continuous cacophony of bird sounds and screeches and scratching, and so because there's so much lack of sound, when it's finally there, it intensifies the danger that you're seeing. I think it's also fantastic that you can take something as, I guess, irrelevant as you would think birds are. They're just like these pretty things that fly around, and make it your enemy in masses, because it's like clouds of birds that suddenly begin to attack, and they're just like these blackbirds that suddenly start flying down from trees and becoming collected in one area, and just seeing this whole bunch of birds just looking around doing nothing. It's great because you know what's going to happen, and you know that Hitchcock is going to deliver, and boy did he deliver. It's not a very conclusive movie, not much happens after that, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a great introduction to Hitchcock because you do see elements of him that are probably going to be much more polished and refined in other movies. The last movie I saw in May was Scorsese's Gangs of New York, and I cannot tell you for the life of me why it took me this long to watch this movie. What was I thinking? I think I've mentioned in the past, I'm not the biggest Scorsese fan. That's not necessarily because I have something against him. I just haven't seen enough of his movies. Gangs of New York was just such a different experience for me. I think in part what I like about it is that it doesn't feel like a Scorsese movie. Scorsese normally focuses like 50s and onwards in times of his movies. So when he does things that are a little more set back in history, like Gangs of New York, which is like the beginning of the United States, and things were still kind of compartmentalized and no one was really united, it was such a cool difference. It felt more to me like a Quentin Tarantino movie than a Scorsese movie. The immigrants who are trying to just like stick together because they want to have that cultural safety with them, and then you have the natives who don't want any of this around them. They just want America to stay the way it was, which you wouldn't think it, but it's still so relevant today and the politics that are happening in this very moment. There's so many things to like about this movie. It is a story about revenge and just infiltrating your enemy and getting to know them, and being too close to your enemy might actually make you understand them better, and it can be conflicting, and that is the case of the character of Amsterdam. When he gets too close to the man who murdered his father when he was a kid, it's just hard to decide what to do, who you are, what you're being, and even execute your plan. Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Day-Lewis in this movie. I don't have words. It's just, I've heard so many things about him throughout the years in this movie. This character is easily one of my favorite characters in all of the movies I've seen. The Butcher, wow. Oh, it was just the most amazing performance. The character of the Butcher is easily one of the coolest villains I've ever seen in a movie. I love the way he carries himself. He's so certain of who he is, what he believes in, to the point that if it costs him an eye, for him to take out his own eye, he will do it. How f***ing badass are you if you can take out your own eye? He is just temperamental. You never know where you stand with him, and he can be having a very calm conversation with you, and then all of a sudden just put a knife through your freaking hand. You never know what you're gonna get. And it came times in the movie where I sided more with the Butcher's point of view than with Amsterdam's, and it's crazy because he's so clearly the villain, and he's so clearly not a good person in so many ways, but he's so sure of what he wants and who he is, and you get such a nice background story to him as well that I'm drawn to him. He's so much more charming and interesting than DiCaprio's character. Just everything he does, his skills with the knife, I can't. And when he did this whole thing of Whoopsie daisies, oh, he killed me. I loved it. This is definitely a movie that I would highly recommend to everyone, although I'm pretty sure I'm the last person to this party and everybody has seen this movie. It's one of those movies I'm definitely gonna buy and rewatch because it was so good. It's long and I didn't really feel it. I just wanted more of these characters and more of this world. It was probably my favorite movie that I saw in May. So guys, those are the movies I'm scratching up my bucket list this month. Let me know, again, as always, any recommendations you might have. Leave them in the comment section down below. But also you can go to my letterbox, it's Cineclub as well, and you can leave me any recommendations. I have the whole list there. You can see all the movies that I've watched and the ones that are pending. If you have any recommendations, I will totally add them. In the meantime, if you haven't seen them, you can go check out my other videos about bucket list. I will leave the links down below. Also on my social media, you can find me pretty much anywhere. My voice is actually really going after this. I'm really winded just by talking, so I'm gonna go now. And I hope you subscribe if you haven't. If you're new to this channel, click on the red button for more videos every week. I will definitely keep doing these bucket list videos. If you like them, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next video. I'm gonna go lie down now because I'm already in my pajamas, and I'm just gonna like do nothing and talk to nobody. Okay, bye.